So, Poorani, I'm dying to ask Jeffrey this question about how does he use this in sales and selling?
Oh, yes. Well, and I discovered this along the way because I first started out in my professional life after I failed in the pros. I didn't make it as a tennis pro, but I learned so much about high level performance that I was able to take it to sales, and I worked my way up from just a telephone salesperson to be vice president of the whole company, using this personal mastery of finding out what I'm going to be best at. Some of the things I discovered along the way is that I'm an auditory learner. So I would get cassette tapes. It was a vitamin company, and I would get audio files of all these nutrition experts talking.
Right.
And instead of reading books, I would listen and I would retain the information much more. I was selling supplements to doctors, so they're very sophisticated in their terminology. And I had to really know all the biochemistry behind vitamin supplements. So once I did that, my sales skyrocketed and I became the sales manager. That's when I approached 𝘮𝘰𝘯𝘕. I went from sales manager to vice president. And as vice president, actually, I approached 𝘮𝘰𝘯𝘕 and said, let's apply 𝘰𝑰𝑚 selling. I already knew the answer was in looking at selling performance on the inside, not on the outside. But this is very counterintuitive. Selling on the inside is not the salesperson's frame of mind. Looking at selling on the inside is the buyer's frame of mind, not the salesperson's frame of mind. That's what everybody gets wrong. Because when I was looking at personal mastery, it's like, well, okay, let's be clear. What's the goal of selling? Well, the goal of selling is buying, not selling. I could sell all day long and not earn any commission, or I could hardly say a word and my customers just somehow happen to buy and I'm rich. Right? Really about the buying. So when I was looking at tennis and telling my granddaughter or myself, let's really focus on the ball rather than my doubts. That's focusing on the outer. It's focusing on the ball. It's focusing on the seams of the ball to stop my self-doubts and to get my body clear on what it needs to know in terms of where's the ball in relation to the racket. Right. So turn that around to selling. What's your customer's decision process? And where might they be stuck? Where might the customer have self-doubts? Where could they benefit from your influence, helping them make the best decision? Because that's why they feel they're talking to you, the salesperson. They want to talk to a salesperson to help them make a better decision. So you need to focus as a salesperson on the customer's mindset.
Right. So it's interesting. You're sort of bringing to the surface for us to consider that everyone is having a judgment. I'm having a judgment as the salesperson. And I might be speaking to someone who's my potential buyer, and they have a judgment about whether they should make this purchase or not.
Yeah, so there's two conversations. Yeah, actually three conversations. You have conversation A, which is between the salesperson and the customer.
Hmm.
Conversation B, between the customer's ears, that's the buying process.
Right.
Conversation C, which is between the salesperson's ears.
Right.
Okay. If a salesperson is talking to the customer and they've got conversation C going on between the salesperson's ears, saying, is this going my way or is this not going my way? That salesperson's distracted. Right. Right. Now, if we talk about peak performance, okay, so let's say that you and I are watching a peak performance salesperson right now. Right. And you're looking at them and they're doing just a fantastic job selling this customer. Well, one of the things that we would notice as we're observing this is the salesperson is very good at thinking on their feet. Now, that's an American expression for responding well to the unexpected, right? But a salesperson in peak performance will, when the customer says something that was unexpected, the salesperson's going to handle it masterfully. Okay. How would that go if the salesperson is thinking, is this conversation going my way or not going? They'll be distracted. They won't be able to respond. They had interfered with their own ability to achieve peak performance as a salesperson. So the same thing applies. It's mindfulness. And by the way, there's an American expression that would be peak performance for a customer. It's called a no-brainer.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So the peak performance decision making from the customer's mindset is termed a no-brainer, where the decision is so clear it's effortless. But the term no-brainer also alludes to a state of inner peace in the mind of the customer. That the customer is actually seeking inner peace in the decisions they make. The opposite of a no-brainer is when a customer is trying to decide. Like the expressions are, I'm sitting on a fence, I'm of two minds. It's really an unpleasant experience for the customer. And the salesperson is not going to get a sale unless the customer stops trying to decide and starts getting that clarity that they're looking for. So you have a continuum. Every customer is somewhere between trying to decide and a no-brainer.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a visual and effective way to look at the sales process and not to also personalize it. As a salesperson, we can now understand we're talking to someone on the other side who is trying to decide